It is one thing to struggle with study habits, and guys, it is another level when you're struggling with study habits and at the same time you're that person that loves listening to music while they study. Like, how do you marry the two? Music can be distracting, right? But guess what? I've been there. I've struggled with study habits, and at the same time, I've also been that person that loves listening to music while studying. So, if you're someone who struggles with studying, or you're someone who struggles with studying and at the same time you love listening to your music while you're studying, well, this video is for you. I'm going to be discussing how you can achieve effective study with or without music. Hi guys, I am Ozima Mavis and this is Grow with Mavis. On today's video, we are addressing an interesting topic, I would say, because it has to do with study habits. Study habits is something that many people struggle with. Some of us cannot read past 30 minutes. Like, once it's like, to read for 30 minutes looks like reading for eternity, and I used to be in that space. I remember when it was such a struggle to sit down and read for like 20 minutes. That was like telling me to sit down and read for an eternity. But guess what? There was a day I literally read for 9 hours straight. No jokes. I think 10 hours. I'm just trying to be modest here. And that was the period I was working on my reading habits. And I wouldn't say that was the healthiest thing to do at that point in time, but it was a leap for me. It was very assuring for me, and it made me realize the things I could explore when it came to reading and the discipline that if I put in place I could do better in my reading habit. And since then till now, I would say I've had a very healthy reading life. So guys, let's go ahead and explore this topic. So when it comes to intensive study, the very first thing I would recommend is getting the right environment. Guys, I cannot emphasize this enough. The environment you're in determines how effective your reading is going to be. I've heard people say, oh, I can study in any environment. I don't mind if it's noisy. It works for me. And I don't doubt you at all. But I think you need to come to a level of discipline to be able to adapt in any environment when it comes to reading. I've come to a point where I can adapt in any environment when it comes to reading. Like, everywhere could be so noisy and I want to get something out of this at this moment. I can shut down the noise and focus on what I'm reading at the time. But it wasn't always like that for me. There were times when I would be very distracted when I hear background noise while I'm trying to read. So it's always good to choose a spot. Let's talk about why you shouldn't pick a spot in a place that is noisy and distracting. If you want to read in a noisy place, it's going to affect the flow and the assimilation of what you're reading. In other words, you might be able to read in a noisy environment, but you would not be able to achieve intensive study. If you were going to get, let's say, 80% knowledge bank, if you read in an environment that is noisy, you might be ending up with, let's say, 50%. So you've cut out like 30. Come on, it's better to choose the right environment. So when it comes to choosing the right environment, I would always advise you to use a quiet place. And what it helps you do is it it conditions your mind. It puts you in that focused position. So if I don't know, for those who subscribe to yoga and all of that, if you notice, you don't do all of those practices in a very noisy environment. If you want to focus and get right into it, then you need a quiet environment, a place that would make you hear yourself, connect with yourself, connect with whatever it is you want to connect with. And in this case, connect with the book, connect with the text, and understand everything going on. So you need to pick an environment that's quiet. And if you're not open to that environment that's quiet, don't worry. I'm also going to tell you how you can navigate that. So another thing I'm going to talk about is choose a sitting position. This is very important. Some people claim to read more effectively when they're on the bed, but I do not advise that. It doesn't work for me. I can read on the bed, but it's more effective when I actually sit down and read. So try sitting down to read. You might say that, yeah, staying on the bed works for me, but have you tried sitting? Try it for once before you come to a conclusion about what works for you. So I'm going to advise you, take a sitting position, avoid the bed. Please avoid that bed. No matter how tempting it is, avoid that bed, because if you're reading on the bed, it's easy to slip into sleep. So please avoid it. So the first is to choose a position, also choose an environment. I'll always subscribe no noise. If you have a library around, it's very, very good. But some people, for some reason, don't like reading in the library. So choose an environment that will give you a serene feel. It could be at the park, it could be at home, it could be, let's say, your front porch, your backyard, it could be under a tree. It should be somewhere that makes you kind of connect with nature. Yeah, nature has a very good way of putting you in that study mindset. So once you choose your environment, the next thing I'm going to suggest is you pick a song. So if you're someone who loves listening to music, I'm going to suggest you go ahead and pick a song at this point, because now you've picked your environment. Next, you choose a song. And if you're choosing a song, here are the tips I'll be giving you when it comes to picking a song. First is, don't have a playlist. And I'm going to explain what I mean. I have a playlist for country music because I love country music. I have a playlist for blues, for my Christian songs, for inspirational songs. You can group your playlists in that order. But for this video, I'm trying to tell you that you should not pick a playlist. Choose one song. So instead of putting a particular playlist on shuffle, because what most people do is that when it's time for them to study, they just pick a playlist that resonates with their mood for the day and they put it on shuffle. So it shuffles and different songs come up and they read. For me, I would say don't shuffle a playlist. Instead, choose a song. Yes, you heard me. Choose one song. And when you choose a particular song, you play it on repeat. Now, this is what it will do for you. While you're listening to the song, you need to create a background effect with your song so that you can deep dive into what you're studying. You don't want a situation where you're reading and just when you think you're getting into the book and the song is getting into the background, something new pops up and it could be your all-time favorite. And you see yourself vibing a little bit to the song and diving back into your reading. Nah, that's distracting. The idea of picking one song is while the song plays, it would gradually fizzle into the background while you deep dive into your reading. That way, you wouldn't see yourself singing along. And even when you sing along, like it's an unconscious thing. It's not something that your attention jumps out of the book into the song and jumps back into your study. No, you're still studying, you're still maintaining a flow with your study while the song is in the background. So you can, it gets to a point where the song is already in your subconscious. And this is a song you enjoy. I'll tell you one of the songs I use when it comes to reading. My all-time favorite when it comes to reading is Don't You Forget About Me by Cloves. That song just gives me everything I need. Whenever I want to go into deep study, I mean, for any kind of project I want to achieve at that point in time, it could be reading, it could be creative writing, it could be anything. However, for creative writing, it can be quite different for me. It depends on the kind of story I want to write. So I choose songs according to the kind of story I want to write. But any kind of studying I want to achieve at a particular point in time, I choose a song that aligns with the mood for that study. So for me, Cloves would always, always come true. And the reason why I like Don't You Forget About Me by Cloves is that it gives this echo feeling. Like it feels as if it's an echo in the background. So it's easy to turn into a background music while I delve deep into my book. So if you're someone who loves listening to music while studying, I would advise you to first of all get a good environment, then second of all choose one song. So the next thing I'm going to advise you do is choose a time of the day. Studying is different from reading. Studying is a discipline. It's not something you just suddenly decide, oh, I want to study. You plan it. So if you're going to plan your study hours, you should also plan the period you want to study, the time of the day when you want to study. And if you're choosing the time of the day, you should choose a time of the day that would be effective for you. So everybody works differently. There are people who study better in the morning. the early hours of the morning. There are people who study better in the middle of the night, like 10 p.m. to like 12 p.m. They burn their midnight candle. There are people that study better in the afternoon or in the evening. So those people are mostly in the library. While the libraries are open, they have time to read and all of that. So I'm going to advise you to choose a time that works for you. Are you someone who reads better in the morning? Do you read better at night? Do you read better in the afternoon? You choose one. For me, what works best for me, if I'm to be honest, is early in the morning, very, very early, or very late at night, or all through the night, even though I've tried to stop that because sometimes it's not so healthy and it's not something I'll advise people to do. But anytime I have to read like all night like that, I always make sure I give myself extra hours of sleep the next day to, let's say, make up for the sleep I've lost. Anyway, I'm not going to encourage you to do all night reading, but if the need arises, like if the need comes, why not? The only thing is, I always pick a night before a day I'm less busy to do all night reading so that it doesn't affect my activities for the next day. So if it works for you, you can try it out. Another point I'm going to talk about, especially for those who want to read with music on, I'm going to say you should use a speaker or headphone. Don't use earpiece or earbuds. They are very uncomfortable. I don't know, but earpiece has a way of hurting my head. It hurts my ears, number one. Secondly, it doesn't take time to give me a headache. So it's very uncomfortable sometimes. I'm going to advise you go for headphones or Bluetooth speaker. Mostly, I would say Bluetooth speaker. It's something that would work best for me because Bluetooth speaker gives you this background feeling. So the purpose of everything I'm trying to talk about is, if you've noticed, I've emphasized a little bit on trying to make sure that your music is in the background. Your music is not dominating your mind. Your mind should be more into the book than it is on the music. So using an earpiece or an earbud puts the song directly into your ears, like it's too close. You need to shift a little bit because you want your focus to be on the book, not on the song. So I would always advise you use a mini Bluetooth speaker, the rechargeable ones you get, so that once you put it, it floats, like the music is all around the room, but then it's not so loud. You have to reduce it so that it's all around the room. It gives the background effect it should give while your mind is into the reading. I don't know if I'm describing this enough for you to understand the feeling or the effect you're trying to create here, but you want to create a background effect with the song. While the song is on repeat, it's also on a low tune, it's not so loud, then it's floating into the room while you're in the study. The idea is for the song to give you a calming effect, a good feeling without interrupting the reading process you're in and interfering with your reading flow or the understanding of your text. So the music should just be there. It should be over there while your book is over here. Like, does that make sense? So to get that feeling, it would work best with a Bluetooth speaker. But if you're in an environment where there are other people and you know you don't want to distract others, right? Then I would advise you get headphones. And the reason I would say headphones is that headphones can give that similar feeling a Bluetooth speaker would give you, and it's less discomforting. You know how headphones come with the foamy feeling and all of that? They are kind of calming and comfy. They're more comfortable than the earpiece. Earpiece is a no-no for me. If it works for you, that's fine, but it wouldn't work for me. So if you're in a noisy environment, use headphones. If you're in a calm environment, use Bluetooth speakers. But always remember to reduce the volume. You shouldn't blast in your ears like you're not having a party. You're trying to study. So it should be a background music. It should not be the dominant thing in your mind. I hope that works for you and I hope you understand why you should make these choices. Then the final thing I'm going to talk about, if you're listening to songs while reading, is for you to change songs where necessary. I understand that suggesting one song might be too much for you. Like, you can't just keep up with one song. Let's say you're studying for 3 hours, 5 hours. I'm sure you're already thinking of how you keep up with one song for 5 hours. Well, for me, I would actually stick to that one song. But if you're someone who would want something for a change over time, I'm going to say you change songs, let's say per hour. So if you want to study for, say, 5 hours, you can choose to set a timer for each song. So if you're playing your first song, you play one song on loop for 1 hour. For 1 hour, you're having an undivided attention while reading, and whatever song you've chosen will be in the background while you have an undivided attention for your book. Then after 1 hour, you can go ahead, the timer will definitely go off, you go ahead and change to another song you like, and you play that one on repeat for another 1 hour. That way, for 5 hours, you say you've listened to 5 songs without having them interfere with your reading flow or your reading process. I think it's something you can do. And I would say it would also help you track your reading progress. If you want to do that, it has a good side to it. Whenever the timer goes off, you know that you finished 1 hour of reading, you can change the song, you do another hour of reading and all of that. So I think that would work for you if you're someone that would not be able to stick with one song. However, if you're someone who does not like reading with music, then I guess you're safe. Just find a good environment, a calm environment, choose the time of the day. And I'm also going to advise you to use the timer thing. Even though you don't use songs, you don't listen to songs, you can use the timer to track how well you've studied for the day or how far you've come. The goal is you need to make yourself understand that you're not going on your phone or on social media or anything. Unless you're studying on your phone, then you just have to find a way to not get pop-up notifications from your social media. Just turn off the notifications, focus on your study. Then if you want to track how long you've spent, let's say you want to give yourself 3 hours of study, you can just set a timer for exactly 3 hours, or you can set a timer for every 1 hour so that you can track how far you've come. If you're someone who would want to take, let's say, a short break after 1 hour, then you go ahead and do that. The final thing I'll talk about is for those who would find it really, really tough to study for up to an hour. Let's say 30 minutes is too much for you. Like 30 minutes is it's just too much for you. You want something shorter. Then I'm going to advise you do this. Put a timer for yourself, say 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes, once the timer goes off, you record that you've studied for 15 minutes. You take a walk. After taking a walk, then you come back, want to study, let's say for 1 hour, and you find it so tough to study, then put a timer. Every 15 minutes, the timer will go off and you see you've achieved 15 minutes. 1 hour is basically 15 minutes into 4 places. It's not that long. So after 15 minutes, if you want to take a break, fine. If you want to do another 15 minutes so that you know you've achieved, let's say 30 minutes before you take a break, better, then you'd have a way to just do 15 minutes, take a walk, do something you love, come back, do another 15 minutes. The point is, if you spread 15 minutes out, even if you spread out 15 minutes in the space of one day, you've achieved an hour of reading in one day. And I think that's progress. It's better than doing nothing. For someone who finds it so difficult to sit down and read. So I'm going to advise you go ahead and time yourself. Timing is key. Timing helps a lot. Once you time yourself, you keep increasing it over time. Next time you can time yourself for, let's say, 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the afternoon, 1 hour before you go to bed, and it will be good until you find that perfect time that works for you, and you can give yourself 3 hours straight in the morning, and you don't need to study in the afternoon and in the night, or you give yourself 5 hours from early morning to late morning, and you don't have to study for the rest of the day. So you just need to find what works for you. But in the meantime, if you're someone who finds it hard to study, start with timing yourself. The little baby steps, they matter a lot. So let's do a quick recap of everything we talked about today. Number one, choose the right environment. Number two, choose a sitting position. Number three, choose a song if you love reading with music. Number four, choose a time of the day that works for you. Number five, use a Bluetooth speaker or a headphone when reading with music on. Number six, change songs when necessary if you are studying with music. Number seven, set a timer and take short breaks. So I'm hoping that all the tips I've given you in this video would work for you. If it works for you, go ahead and let me know in the comment section. If these are things you're already practicing, you can tell me what your experience is like. I'm hoping to get feedbacks from all of you guys, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. If you've watched to this point, please like this video and subscribe, and I'll be so excited about that. And stick with us while we give you more videos. You are a star for staying this long. So keep sticking with me, grow with me, and let's see the wonderful things we can achieve together. I'm hoping to see you in my next video. Remember, we give you everything: education, study, writing, lifestyle. In fact, we have a taste of it all, variety. All right, guys, it was good hanging out with you today. I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye.